Welcome back to my channel. This is Andy in Singapore, and for today's video we are going to do a very quick review of the latest version of the Orient Kamasu. So I'm going to call this one V3 version 3 because it is the third version of the Kamasu. Now in my previous videos I have done a couple of newer Kamasus. I've named them Gen 2, but I think that's not the right way to name all these models, because at the heart of it all, it is still exactly the same watch, but they have made some changes to the dial and of course the color combi of the bezel and all that. So this is version 3. What's the difference this time? Right, so we are seeing a new dial design here. So V1 would have something that is very unique to the Kamasu design, stick markers and that special looking handset. And then came version 2, which had the round markers. So this one is version 3. This is a new model, I think launched sometime last month, and we are seeing 4 different color combinations. I'm holding on to this one, which has a champagne dial and it's got green and beige bezel. So let's have a look at the reference number. This one is RA-AA0821S. So you can see from the new dial design, the new layout, that it's got numerals here applied at 6 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 12 o'clock, and I would say this one here gives off that explorer vibes to it. And we've got a lovely champagne dial here, which has the sunray sunburst effect. Alright, so the rest of the watch is identical to all the Orient Kamasus. Very popular watch, definitely a runaway winner from Orient watches. And this one here has gone back to the polished case sides here. Alright, so for version 1, the beautiful looking forest green dial and maroon dial versions, we had a polished case side, and then it went to a brushed case sides for version 2, those with the round markers and all that. So for this generation, they've gone back to a polished case sides. If you ask me, I definitely prefer the brush case size, okay, but of course such things it's a matter of preference. And now with the lens zoom in very slightly, let's go through some of the key specifications of the Orient Kamasu. So this one is identical to all previous versions of the Kamasu. It's got a slightly smaller than 42mm case size. Total thickness here is around 12.6 millimeters. It does not have a display case back, and beneath this case back here houses the in-house 9F67 movement, which is a day-date movement. So I'll say this is the direct counterpart to Seiko's 4R36, which has a day and date complication. So hex and hand winds, power reserve is around the 42-hour mark, and accuracy is about there, daily deviation of about 20-30 seconds. And I think there's nothing much to shout about when it comes to the movements of these entry-level watches. But of course the Kamasu here offers very good value for money. We are looking at a watch that is around 350 Singapore dollars, and you are getting a host of features such as sapphire crystal, hacking and hand winding. This one here, this champagne dial, is something special. It is the first time that we are seeing a light colored dial here on a Kamasu. This watch here is on loan from our boutique, so let me take some time to thank my good friend Eric at our boutique for so generously loaning me all the watches for my video reviews. So in terms of case construction and build quality and design and all that, I think, you know, all of you watch fans out there will be very familiar by now when it comes to the Orient Kamasu. So this is a very popular watch among all the entry-level type of divers, 200 meters rated, but this is not ISO rated. So around this $320 to $350 mark, I think the quality here is definitely on point. Okay, you're getting really decent level of finishing here all over the watch. Even the bezel action here is very good. Definitely not as precise as my To The Black Bay, but then again, alright, at this price point, I think this bezel action here is indeed very good. I think many people will agree that in the previous versions of Kamasu, the crown has always been the weak link Alright, definitely feels a bit too small, and in terms of rethreading, the action is not the best. Okay, but strangely for the V3 I'm holding on right now, I think this crown here, they must have done a bit of improvements. I'm not too sure what they have done to improve this crown here. It definitely feels much better than the previous generations. And now let's move on and talk about the overall dial design and the color combinations used in the latest version of this Kamasu here. So since the first version of the Kamasu, we are seeing this bi-colored bezel here. We had the Pepsi, and then we have different shades of green for V2. So V3 is the same. On this one here, we are seeing a mix of khaki and beige for this version, for the champagne dial version. I think it looks really good, something different. It's not a color combination that we are seeing very frequently, not the Pepsi version or not the black and red root beer kind of version. So I think this would be a new addition, and many fans will be welcoming this kind of design and this new color combi. For version 3, Orient has gone back to this sunburst sun ray kind of look to it, alright, as opposed to the Fume dial versions in V2. Alright, so there is also a change in the handset. So previous version V1, V2, we are looking at a very unique handset that's very unique to the Kamasu design, and this one here has gone back to sort of the Meiko or Mako kind of look. Okay, and this is the handset that many Orient fans would be very familiar with. But for me, I do feel that the new handset here, to me, it looks like the hands are a little bit too short. Now let's check out the Lume shot here on the latest version of the Kamasu. So as you can see, these applied markers here, the numerals here, I think they sort of add something new when it comes to the Lume shot, the overall look of the Lume on the Kamasu. So I welcome these changes, and the 6, 9 and 12 numerals, you know, sort of makes it look very different from the previous generations of Kamasu, and the overall Lume brightness here is very decent, alright? Not quite Seiko Lume Bright standard, but I think when it comes to Lume, there is nothing to complain for the Orient Kamasu. Let's zoom back out for a stage wrist shot of the Orient Kamasu on my wrist. So just pardon all this protective film over here. So I typically don't remove all the protective layers on watches that are on loan. I like to keep them as new as I can. So if you wear the watch here, it definitely feels more like a 40 or 41 millimeters, and the overall L to L distance is very manageable, as well as this case thickness here. Alright, it doesn't look overly tall, and I think a bit of beveling here on this case size here definitely helps. So in summary, I would say the Kamasu V3 here definitely, you know, comes in with more changes than before, right? In terms of the dial layout, the fonts here, and this new handset over here. So with the 4 new colorways in this version 3, we definitely see more than 10 Kamasu variants, and that's a good thing for the watch collectors out there, because, you know, more choices, and I think there are definitely people who would buy repeated models of Kamasu, right, from V1 all through to V3. I do like this overall explorer look of the new dial layout, and the champagne dial version here is definitely the star attraction of the new collection. Okay, so the first time we are seeing a light colored dial here on the Orient Kamasu, and this one here is expected to sell very, very well. And that was my very quick review of the latest version 3 of the Orient Kamasu. Stay tuned for more watch reviews. This is Andy in Singapore. I'll see you next week. Bye bye.